This is Ready Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready Set Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide. So I'm Tracy Searight, and this is Ready Set Reiki. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Ready Set Reiki. Today, joining me on this journey is a wonderful and amazing intuitive teacher, professional medium, and trailblazing spiritual leader with 19 years of experience. Isabeau Maxwell has dedicated her life to guiding people through their most profound spiritual transformation. Now, this isn't just a passing interest, it's really her calling. She has worked with thousands, helping them kind of shatter this invisible barrier that has kept them stuck, confused, and disconnected from their true power. Her approach isn't about recycling mystical theories or vague spiritual concepts, it's about providing practical, powerful strategies that create tangible, life-changing results. Her training comes from nearly 2 decades of deep spiritual work, professional mediumship, and transformational leadership. Now, she is the founder of the award-winning course, The Sage Method, author of Cracking Open Adventures of a Reluctant Medium, and the builder of the popular online spiritual community, The Sage Circle. Welcome to Ready, Set, Reiki.
Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to be here because your message resonates deeply with me, and I knew we'd click.
Let's begin our journey together. So Here we go. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a former skeptic, opened up into the spiritual world by my grandmother a couple hours after she passed, middle of the afternoon, showed up in my living room. That was an experience. That was not anything I thought would ever happen. I assumed it was grief. And then I tested it because I didn't really want to lose her and I wanted the possibility to be there. And that started my journey, like you said, 19 years ago. And the proof started to come in. That's when I went and got, Reiki, set up for Reiki. I did the training, started using it. All this alignment came into place. And then I found myself working as a professional medium also. So I did energy work, clearings of buildings and individuals, and a medium, really. And eventually it just started to where I got really excited to teach others. And my guide point blank said, you need to teach others how to open up intuition, because I'm the poster child, I think, of like, if I can do it, anyone can, kind of thing. So that's how I got to this spot today.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you are where you are today. And when you kind of look back, Reiki kind of blossoms. So tell us, did you find Reiki or did Reiki find you?
It was suggested to me. So here's how I came across it. Now, mind me, I knew nothing. I'm talking about, I had a degree in mathematics. There was no religion, no science, or no religion, no spirituality in my life. So I was brand new, 32 years old, trying to find my way. Mm-hmm. And I went to a Tai Chi instructor and said, you're the strangest person I know. Can you help me? And I now see that wasn't the most polite approach, but he loved me through it. Spirituality brings compassion and a whole lot of inner awareness. But he was the one that said, your energy fields are all over the place. And I was like, okay, I was having a hard time believing stuff. And in a matter of, and I actually tell this story in my book, but in a matter of 3 days really, but very short, compact time, I had a car the lights on the dashboard went, and I parked it. And the next morning it was dead. It was dead. The alternator was fried. Brought it into the shop. The 2 or 3 days later, it was the middle of summer, super hot. I had my air conditioner blow out, my kid's clippers blow out in the middle of his haircut, a laptop blow out. And I'm like, that's it. To my husband at the time, I need to take a break. I'm taking the truck because my car's in the shop, and I'm just going to go get a coffee, a latte, and actually a chai tea. And I was brought the truck there. As I parked it in the parking spot, the dashboard lit up and I turned it off and I went in and got my chai tea, of course, and then came out and it was dead. So that car got towed and we went to the mechanic who was next door to our apartment complex. And it was so fun because he leaned in. He goes, "You got what my brother's got." That's that. He gets mad and stuff starts blowing up.
Yeah.
So I went back to the Tai Chi instructor and he said, "I think you could benefit from Reiki."
Yes.
And wow, did I. Like, chapter turned. I think after Reiki 2 was when I felt aligned for the first time and then didn't know what I was feeling because I was aligned for the first time. It was wild. And it just enhanced my intuition dramatically as well. But that's how I got into Reiki.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when did you kind of realize, ooh, I think I might be a medium?
So the mediumship was happening before Reiki.
Mhm.
I think I was open about almost a year intuitively. There was a couple parts of my life where my intuition dramatically expanded further. The first one was Reiki. And then the next one after that, I did a massive decluttering of my home and such. And then another really big opening there. But so the mediumship came first. I was just all over the place and unbalanced with it. But yeah, if the mediumship didn't show up, I wouldn't have met the Tai Chi instructor and wouldn't have gotten into Reiki, and I wouldn't have been able to be sitting here with you.
Sure. So it's kind of almost like it helped be an anchor through your experience and kind of get these things under control a little bit and to help open up that intuition, that third eye.
Yes. And now having taught intuitive development for 17 years, 16 years, something like this, I can't tell you how many people start with Reiki and then reach out and say, "I think my intuition's opening up."
Yeah.
It's like, yep, absolutely, 100%. And they're like, "I'm doing these Reiki sessions." And then all of a sudden, like a message will come through. I'm like, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
If they just trust the process,
Yep.
and let things unfold. So 19 years in this business as a medium, what are some of the misconceptions about being a medium?
Oh, there's a bunch of them. Some of the popular ones, though. We'll go with some of the popular ones. There's a quirky one too. We'll start with quirky. That they visit you all the time, every time, like in the bathroom and all that kind of stuff too. That's a big fear of like, oh no, I'm going to be seen everywhere, which leads into the one that people listen to a medium talk. And this makes complete sense. They say, "Oh, I see this, I see that. They're showing me this. I'm hearing this." And when you hear someone say that, it makes you feel as if they're seeing everything in living color, like it's right off of a movie screen. And that's so far from the truth. And a lot of people are seeing, they just don't know that they're seeing because they have an expectation of what it's going to look like. That's a big one. And my favorite one, I think, is that people think that you have to be special or gifted. You have intuition, when the truth is we're all intuitive. We're every single one of us. And your intuition's already 100% strong. It's just covered up. And the uncovering of it, which is why Reiki increases intuition, the uncovering of it, that clearing of that energy and decluttering of your environment, your mind, all of that type of stuff is what allows you to access what's already there.
Right. I feel like I'm able to see things more now than I was when I was a child. I did have the abilities, but I feel like going through Reiki helped heal different parts of me so that I would be able to kind of clear that clutter from the mind. But I agree with you on they think it's kind of a whole movie or a whole longer conversation. And I tell them it's like charades in a bit. Like they show me something and we have to figure out the meaning. And I did a session with someone about a week ago and something came through and it just blew her mind. I don't know. She asked her mom, she asked her sister, she's asked family members. And I said, but it may not be what you're thinking. It may be, another understanding of what that person meant. It might have a different meaning. So don't take it as that physical object that I'm telling you. We have to kind of try to peel back the layers and try to decode it. And I think they don't understand. Like, even when I work with animals, the caregiver will ask, well, what kind of favorite food do they like, or brand of food? And sometimes that doesn't come through, right? Because I'm meeting the animal for the first time and they're just warming up to me. So it may not be something that they may say right away. So
Exactly. And the best intuitives let the information come in that needs to come in. We can ask questions, but we don't try to steer the event. We say to them, what's the most important thing you want to say? Because they might not answer what kind of dog food, but they're going to tell you that their green ball is their favorite toy.
Right.
So, you got to let them say that. And spirit is going to know what the sitter needs to hear way more than we are. The minute we think we should say this or say that or say this, we're blocking the intuition.
Right. So you have helped many people on their journey with just life-changing results through these challenges and struggles. But what has been one of the biggest challenges or struggles you faced in your own healing journey?
First off, I love my job. What a cool job, hey? To just be surrounded by people that are like becoming empowered. Seriously, I hit the lottery with this job. So opened up at 32. So I started to have to set boundaries. And that was the most brutal, because setting boundaries with people, especially important key players in your life. The first one was my mom. That was very difficult. And then the second one was getting divorced of a 20-year marriage. Those two boundaries had to be set. But it goes against everything that like an empathic person is wired to do. I have to hurt this person to save myself. And that was probably by far the most difficult thing that I did. And also by far the most wonderful thing I did. It's that conundrum,
Sure. Yeah, I completely understand. I had to make a decision, actually, believe it or not, in my 30s as well. I had my mother and a divorce. So we're similar on that. It was one of those ones where, she could be your anchor or your ache. And it was the ache. And so I can feel it. Empath, I get you, sister. So
yeah, it's really hard, but I've never been happier. That's the one thing that I keep telling people is pursuing, balancing your energy, Reiki, intuition, whatever your path is. It's so important because there's a level of happiness that you will step into that you haven't experienced before. It's like the grass is greener.
Sure. And also, you have culturally, religiously, those are society wise, that it's your mother, you have to, that's the excuse. No matter what the other parent did, it's your mother. And I don't think I've ever had someone ask me, well, what did your mother do to you for you to make that difficult choice? It was always my responsibility to repair the relationship, let it go, throw it aside. She gave up everything for you, you owe her, kind of thing. So I can say the Reiki would definitely help me heal with that prayer. It was a struggle because it was ingrained in me in church growing up. Honor thy mother and father. That was it, no matter what. But what do you do when it's hanging by a shoestring, right?
Exactly. And I completely relate. I cut my mother off. I went no contact back in 2000 and I think 11, somewhere around there. Back before people were more openly discussing it as a mental health issue. And when you're drowning, it's really, first off, back then people had to do this and then live with it silently because you couldn't say it out loud because shame on you. And Tracy, I'm an only child, so shame on you. You're like, and I get it, but at some point you have to decide if you're going to sacrifice the rest of your life for a person that's hurting you. And, most people that go no contact just like myself, do everything they possibly can do before finally making that decision. So I would say that mine was a 10-year process
Mhm.
of trying to do everything I could do, to get it somewhere close to healthy. Uh,
Sure.
and then there's nothing left you can do.
And it's just kind of like it can't be sustained if you're the one kind of doing all the work. Yeah. So I was around probably the same time period as well, and it's an a horrible decision to have to make to put yourself
Yeah.
in because it goes against everything. Your mother is supposed to be your best cheerleader, your biggest fan, and when you have to cut that tie, and especially when you have your own children, right?
Yeah,
And it's a
exactly.
difficult journey. So
It is. And I actually ended up cutting it because of my kids.
of course,
I started to see the patterns and went, nope,
yeah.
no. So it's that difficult. It's so difficult that as a grown woman, I couldn't do it for myself.
Mhm.
But the minute you mess with my kids, we're
Sure.
all set. So yeah, it's an incredible journey.
Yeah.
And
And
energy work and alignment and all of this is the most important self-care you can do. I still to this day do the 2 seconds of Reiki just to get lined back in, to make sure that I'm grounded, I'm cleared, I'm protected. That's what I teach in my courses is GCP, ground, clear, protect. So you ground, anchor into Mother Earth, as we know how to do. Clear it all out, wash it all away that it's not yours, and then put up a filtration bubble kind of protection thing to say, if it's not supposed to be here, it's not coming in. And if it's supposed to be here, it's coming in. And that kind of self-care is foundational.
absolutely. So this can also be a medium question as well, because when I do, I feel like I'm more of a psychic than a medium, but I do trade with friends because
Yep.
I feel they're able to see things on my end more clearly than I can on myself. So when it's time for you to get an energetic tune-up or to get guidance, what do you look for either in a Reiki practitioner or into a medium?
Here's a couple of things, and I have worked hard, Tracy, to try to find like ways to make this sound positive.
Yeah.
But the things that I talk in terms of red flags. So that's hard to do red flags in a positive way, but I tell
Sure.
people to look for red flags. If there's any sort of positioning whatsoever, I'm better than you. You can never reach my level. I'm super special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest red flag I tell people to look for. People who are authentically tapped in and authentically channeling energy and doing good healing work know that the two of you are in it together,
Mhm.
and that it's not a pedestal type thing. That's the number one, really. I'll speak specifically to mediumship on the second one though, because this isn't true for Reiki. People need time with Reiki to heal certain aspects. It's usually not a one and sometimes it's a one and done, but they
Yeah.
need time to build their strength back up. But with mediumship, if you have a medium that tells you that you got to keep coming back to them over and over, like once a month,
Right.
just don't. And if they show you a candle and say it's $300 and you're cursed, anyone brings out the word cursed, walk out the door.
Yeah, yeah. There's like something attached,
Yeah.
yeah,
Something
yeah.
really dark and
Charging you. I
attached.
mean, I've been in situations where I've seen things on people and I'm like, I'm not going to charge you for that because it gets it on, I've seen it on TikTok, like something's attached to you, $300. But if I see somebody, one of the Reiki that I do, the style of Holy Fire, is there is a spirit release with that, and I'll help them. And I'm like, I'm not charging you for that because I'm just being of service with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We are spending time together, and
Mhm.
whatever you need in this time,
Sure.
I will facilitate. There's no add-on. There's no upgrade.
Mhm.
There's none of that. Just two people together raising the
Sure.
vibration in any way, shape possible. And I've done clearings
Mhm.
of buildings, land, people for almost 18 years.
Yeah.
It's not a multitask. It's clear it and then it's done. That's
Yeah.
it. Clear
Yeah.
it, set the boundaries, and it's done. And
Yeah.
it also isn't a 4-hour event, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. I've heard
So
it like $150 to $1,000 to come and do clearings. And some of them are online as well. And it was
mhm.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that fabulous fear tactic.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case. Somebody that's good at clearing can do it very quickly, very efficiently. Usually it's a very boring meeting. There's no hands in there. I went to a house clearing once and it was actually kind of cute. I went there and the woman that owned the home had like 3 of her friends there. And it was kind of like this, like, what is she going to do? Right. So I tapped into the home. I said, okay, I feel like there's 2 spirits in here that need to cross over, need to go home. That's another thing. We've got the spook factor around ghosts, and I try to tell people ghosts are people too. Okay. This is somebody that passed and is trying to
Lost,
also cross
lost.
over.
Yeah.
When it comes to this house, though, I said, okay, this is what's going on. So I'm going to clear it now. And she said, okay, do you need us to circle? Do we need candles? Do you need any? And I was like, I'm just going to sit on your couch and it's going to probably be really boring. And it's just going to sit there with my eyes closed. She's like, oh, and they were super let down. But we got the house cleared, you know, that's all that matters. So the showy thing is a kind of a put off for me.
Very good. So what advice, after 19 years, what advice do you have someone who just is entering spiritual work?
To know what you're going to battle within yourself. And this is what you're going to battle within yourself. You are going to battle patience. Patience shuts down intuition. Turn your impatience into curiosity as often as you can, and you will fast forward. You are going to battle having to take a very good look at yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're going to learn the things that you don't like about yourself. And knowing that that's going to happen, trying to walk through that without shame and remembering that the things that you don't like about yourself or the behaviors you don't like, they developed to protect you at some point in your past. And rather than feel bad about that, say thank you to yourself for having those traits when you needed them to protect yourself. And then come back into the present. There's a lot of inner work that happens when you open up spiritually. This is why life gets so good, because when you do the inner work, you heal and it gets better. But it's between the impatience, I think, and the self-judgment are the two that if you know that those are going to come up, you know how to deal with them when they come up, you're going to be out in a much better place.
And it's a process, like you said earlier, it's not a one and done, it's cumulative. And I had found myself years ago, and it's a nice spin that you put on it with, it was a coping mechanism. So yes. I would get 500 things would happen, and the 501 thing would be so small, like a glass would break or a drink would spill over, and I'd get reactionary, right? And I didn't like that about myself. And so I started doing the work, and now I'm not as reactionary, but looking back, I can see how that could have been a coping mechanism for things in my life to kind of, okay, I need to be heard. Now I have to get loud and reactionary, where now I've learned, no, there's another way. So it takes time. It's a process.
Exactly. For me, an example would be I am ferociously private. And I wouldn't tell anybody anything or ever let anybody in. And then you open up and you start doing the inner work and you start realizing that how that's received by others, and it's not good. And I had to learn how to open up and ask for help and not just have it be a one-way street all the time with me taking care of everything and me people pleasing. That was a really difficult one to go through, but that was my coping mechanism. That's how I survived my childhood. So,
and it's what the type, it goes back to the type of mother, right?
Yep.
It's that.
Thanks, mom.
Right.
No, in sincerity, she did the best she could do. So
sure. Yeah. That's how you know you're healed, because you can look through the eyes of grace.
Yeah. And say, no, I get it.
So what books do you recommend?
So some of I don't do a lot of books just because a lot of, just my personal path. I know I have a lot of friends that devour just tons of books, but the ones that pop up the most, probably Eckhart Tolle is a good one. Great thinking book. My favorite though is the I almost said Four Agreements. Not commandments. Absolutely not commandments. The Four Agreements, I think, is probably one of the most life-changing books a person can read. And it's a short read. I'm trying to think. There's one more book. It's a woman that went to Australia. Mutant Messages Down Under. I think I got that right. I read it like 20 years ago. And that book woke me up to what is possible energetically in this world. It was a really cool book.
All right, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, what other services or modalities do you offer? Do you trainings, classes, events?
The big offering really is the trainings. I am just a passionate teacher. I absolutely love explaining how things work and explaining things that people can try and do. So the Sage Method course is a 7-week course that I've been teaching since 2007, 2008. I brought it online in 2019. I had taught it in person up until that point. And now we have students all over the globe. And it's just empowering. I've created an online spiritual community that's been available for about 4 years now. And that supports the students so that you're not just sitting there taking a course all by yourself, because that could be tough. And that community is great. We meditate, we do energy work, card readings, Q&A, all that kind of stuff. And that's close to my heart, because when I opened up, I didn't have anybody in my circles. And so there are a lot of people in this world that don't have anybody in their immediate circle that they can talk to about this type of stuff. So that's community is growing fast as well. And that's global too.
Beautiful, beautiful. So where can we find you? Where can we look to see where we can book a session with you or reach out to you?
Reach out to us. I do really good at keeping everything on one website. So that's one as the organizational skills of the former skeptic. TheSageMethod.com is the best place to go. It's THESAGE method.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, that ends the first part of our journey, and I'm going to continue to be your guide through the second part, which is questions from social media. Now, the first one we touched on just a little bit, but we can circle back around and go into a little bit more. Number one, what red flags should I look for when I'm dealing with a medium?
Right? I wish we had more of these discussions. I would not recommend going anywhere that had fluorescent lighting in the window. That's one. That's another one. Like what is that lighting called? It's, you know what I mean?
The neon lights. Yeah.
Neon lights. Yeah. Yeah. Just if you see the word psychic and neon lights, don't go there. I would definitely ask friends if they know anyone that is, qualified. I'd stay off of hotlines. And I know that when we're looking for an intuitive, we want answers and we want them now. At least that's how I am. But if you do find an intuitive that's booked out a month or two, that's a very good sign. That's a very good sign. So if you can just give it a little time, and let that go out. Yeah. Those are the things that I would add to that one. Such a great question though. See, there's such a common question. Like, how do I know I'm not going to get somebody that's not real? Right.
Yeah. I mean, I usually have found it word of mouth. Like in my case, I also, do readings, and people just think that you're available right then and now and not realize I teach yoga. I do all the kinds of other things. I'm booked up for like a couple months.
Exactly.
So yeah. And I always just go to, if it feels right, you start with that process and it already feels awkward and weird, listen to that inner intuition.
Listen to that gut. Yep.
Number two, you spoke on it a little bit, but we can go and elaborate on it more. Tell us about your award-winning course, The Sage Method.
So that is that 7-week course. And oddly enough, what happened was after my grandmother showed up and I started working with trying to communicate with her, shortly after that, I met my first spirit guide, and I called him Big Dog just because he felt so big, like tall and stuff. So can I call you Big Dog? He was like, sure. I worked with him for about 2 years. He taught me everything I know about past lives, how we come down here, how we leave, all of that. And that was priceless. It meant the world to me, but he also demanded some of the inner work that I do and some of the different things that I try. And 2 years later, I was a professional medium booking out, and it was great. It was wonderful. I was like, okay, maybe this is my career. And a little while after that, he said, I need you to take everything I taught you and bring it out into the world. And I was like, okay, small task. That's a lot, dude. And he was like, I know, dude. And so I said, okay, fine. I went through all the journals of the 2 years, and the best I could do was get it down to 7 weeks of training. So because it was a lot. In essence, it is what I did for 2 years that took me from a complete skeptic to very strong intuition. And it's created in such a way to help you figure out why your intuition is blocked, how your intuition is unique, and how all of this works. So it's I think those 3 components are what make the course so popular, because people come out of it going, I get it now. You're like, yeah.
And we're able to find that on your website, right?
Yep.
And you also said there was a group, right?
Yeah. And when you sign up for the course, we automatically give you 60 days for free in the membership, so that you're covered no matter what. You're not taking the course alone. You're in the community. If you want to be in the community, you don't have to log in if you don't want to, but we automatically put you right into that community, so you have access to me and to all the people that are in there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Our third question: what inspired you to write Cracking Open Adventures of a Reluctant Medium? And that wasn't one of the books you recommended, by the way.
Oh, my bad. So the best book I've ever read is Cracking Open. So wait, there it is. It's right now. So I have 2 reasons that I wrote this book. One is completely selfish, and one is completely not selfish. So we'll start with the selfish one. So hopefully you'll forget that when I say the second one. I was teaching the SAGE method, and I had been teaching it. So the book came out in 2011, and I had been teaching for, I don't know, 6 years, just years. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to tell this story again. Like, there's so much of it, and people are so curious about it, that I was like, okay, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to do a book. And then when they're curious, I can go, here you go. So it was a very selfish reason. And at the time I was probably a little bit burnt out, still married. You get it. Trying to set the boundary with mom. But the true reason, that's all a little lighthearted there. The true reason is I wanted to put out there the truth about what it was like to open up. I read a couple of books, and they kind of irked me, because they were like, and then the power of the light of the greatest of them, and I was this and I was that, and I did the blah, blah, and I was like, oh, that is not what it's like to open up. It is more like a jaggedy roller coaster. And I needed to put that out there to say, here is a true version of an average person and what happened to them. The screw ups, the positives, the frustration, all that kind of stuff, all the good too. But I needed to put that out there for people, because that was the beginning of me kind of pushing back on pop culture.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Well, that was our last question. And as we've been talking, is there anything else that you'd like to share, or maybe something that you forgot? The floor is yours.
What else do I love to tell people? I'll make 2 small things. The first one would be take a step. Any step. I don't care how small it is. Take a step. Stop planning and take a step. One simple step. That's all you have to do, because all those steps do start to add up. That old adage is true. Absolutely true. And for those that are interested in intuition, this is the one I want to share. When you see something out of the corner of your eye, and then you turn to look at it and it's gone, I can tell you why. It's because when you turn to look at it, you take your physical eyes and you're landing on physical objects in the room. The reason you saw something out of the corner of your eye is that your peripheral is defocused. So when we can remember that what we are looking for in spirit, energetically and intuitively, is not in the material world, that will allow us to let go of the material world, defocus from it, and that's where what you're looking for will be found.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was wonderful. And thank you so much. And that's why I consider this a journey, right? It's not a destination. So we're learning, and it's great that you're able, as you go through the journey, to find people like you that help and can be of support, and that you never are alone. So know that the helpers are out there. So check out the website, check out the book, check out the information. You have amazing and wonderful resources. So thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join me on this journey.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. All right, my wonderful listeners, if you would like your question featured on Ready Set Reiki, reach out, www.readysetreiki.com. I'm Tracy Searight, and this has been Ready Set Reiki.